real profession, and the reason I'm not in comfortable clothes like you all is that I am a vice president and financial advisor with Merrill Lynch. And I work for the downtown office on Fifth Avenue, soon to be moving to Mercado, right down the street. So this is a hobby, sort of a public service type activity that I do, and I'm heavily involved with that. Naples Mugs Group. That is a link to their site. Our meetings are generally 95% of the time, every Wednesday at 11:30 to 11:45 at the library downtown on Central.
Quarter to one.
Quarter to 1, I'm sorry, quarter to 1. 11:30 to 1:45. And the format of the meetings generally go this way. On the first Wednesday of the month, it's a Q&A session. So you come in, and there'll usually be about this many people at a meeting. Jerry, our president, will say, who has a question today, or how can we help you? So you just raise your hand. I'm having a problem setting up mail, or I'm having a problem with, I want to send some photos to somebody, or whatever your question is. No questions are too complicated or too simple to ask. And then they're addressed right there in the forum, and usually I would say our hit rate on answering questions is 95% plus, right, George?
Yes.
George is vice president of the club. And then so continuing on the second Wednesday of the month, again at 11:30 generally, is the meeting devoted to iOS, iPhone, iPad, and I usually coordinate those meetings and speak at those meetings, or have somebody help me with those meetings on going over special apps or some other area that I'm less familiar with. The third meeting of the month is it the iLife or Q&A again? Third
Q&A.
Q&A again. The fourth meeting is on iLife, which is iPhoto and all that business. And George, who's here in the yellow shirt, usually coordinates those meetings. And if there's a fifth Wednesday of the month, that's usually a podcast in, and we've had podcasts in from very noted speakers across the country, several of them from Macworld. Then we also have a meeting usually on at 5 o'clock to 6:30 or so on the third Monday of the month, and that's usually a speaker, guest speaker, or podcast in from somebody across the country. Those meetings, and coming to those meetings is free. You can just come. To be a member costs, this is going to set you back, I'm sorry, I know most of you are retired, but $20 a year. And $25 per family. And the benefits of being a member is that we have a private Q&A blog on Yahoo that you can post questions and you will get answers to those questions. Also, we have a subscription to a service called lynda.com. We have 5 memberships to lynda.com. Lynda.com is an educational service. They probably have 1,000 different courses that you can take on your computer. The membership is usually about $300, $350 a year. And if you're a member of the club, you just email George once you're a member, and he will sign you up for a week at a time. And so if you wanted something, you wanted a 4-hour course on iPhoto, that's available. If you wanted a course on iOS, that's available, and so on. All that stuff is out there, so that's another benefit. And last but not least is we do courses, about 8 to 10 courses a year at Hodges University. We do them generally on Mondays from 1 to 4 o'clock. And it's $10 a course. And they're only available to members, and the class size is limited to 50. So for example, last year I know we had 2 courses on Mountain Lion. We had 2 courses on iOS. One of them I did, which will be similar to the one I'm doing today. Then we had another one of our members, Maryland, who did a course on some specific apps. They're very popular. We had a course on iPhoto and so on. So if you're interested in the club, there are membership forms on the back table. If you have a check, you can fill out the form and give it to George today. If not, you can mail it in.
Can we just ask one question? Are there, I'm sure all of you are using an iPad. Are many of you Apple computer users? Oh, so quite a few. This is our group is probably one of the largest in the world. We have over 500 members. We're extremely active. Most groups will meet once a month. We meet 5 times a month. So this is a great group. If you're interested in learning Apple and iPhone and iPad, I would recommend you join the group.
Okay, thank you, George. Okay, I wanted to just take a quick survey. So we asked about how many people are using Apple computers. How many people are using an iDevice of some type right now? Just about everybody. How many people are not using iOS 7? A couple of you have not updated? Okay. I assume that the ones who, how many people are using iOS 7? Most of you? Okay. That's what we're going to talk about today. I can tell you that it's safe to upgrade. And I can tell you that iOS 7 is a very large update. I mean, there's a lot of good new features. I think overall it's an excellent upgrade. There are some things that I don't like, and there are some things that I'm sure that some of you who have upgraded don't like. Most of those have to do with visibility issues and how it's laid out. Although everything is there and plus much more. And so we'll go over that and we'll try and address some of the issues about increasing visibility and so on. They went to a smaller font and they went to these colors that are not these pastel colors, some of which are shown here, like for example, my pointer out. If you notice in the bottom menu bar, there is the settings icon right here. Now reminds me of a stove burner. The Safari reminds me of a compass, and that's the internet. Photos has changed quite a bit. So a lot of that stuff is just getting used to. Now, I wanted to ask how many people here belong to the club now or go to the club meetings? Okay, quite a few of you? Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to start in, and I want to start by addressing some of these visibility issues. And so what I'm going to do is I want to go to, I'm going to first go to the photos area and just show you some screenshots that I have. And this happens to be a phone. This is in the phone session, but I just want to show you the difference of these things. Now, this is one of the screens that comes. It's a dynamic screen setting that you can choose for background. And as you can see, to me, it's sort of hard to read. And actually, if you have this setting selected, these bubbles sort of move around underneath your icons. And that does eat up your batteries. And I'm going to go to where you do these later. And on Q&A, what I want to do is I'll take your questions and answers when I complete a section. So I'll say, if you have a question now on something, write it down. And then when I get to the end of this area, I'll say, are there any questions? And you can do it at that time. Now here's one, same icons, but this is one of their settings that I started to use right away. It's a static setting that comes with it, and it's stars and so on. And it's a little bit better to read than this, I think. Now here's one, it's actually one that's at one of their settings you can select, and it's a seashore. You can see the water coming in here. It's a little bit faded out on this slide. But to me, that's very difficult to read. Then, here's one I selected out of my photos. You can select any of your photos for the background. I thought, oh, I'll just select this really nice mountain scene. And it's a really nice mountain scene, but the problem is that I don't think my things are very easily read with that underneath. No, this actually is an iPhone, but it's the same thing on an iPad. I have to have the pictures here for this. I'm going to show you. We'll get there. Really? These are just pictures I'm going through examples. This is one that's sort of dark. And then this is the one that I use, which is black. Now, if you want to use the black one, I'm going to tell you the secret on how to do that. What you do is you put your thumb over the lens on the back of your iPad or your camera. You take a picture, and then you select that picture for your background. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and address this lady's questions on where you do this. So this is the, let me go back. I'm going to go into the settings area. I'm going to go in there a lot. So I'm going to go into settings, and I'm going to go down here to wallpaper and brightness. Okay? Everybody with me? Okay. When you go to wallpaper and brightness, this comes up, and I'm going to push on this one, right? Just any one you can push on. The same thing will come up. And when I touch on that, there we go. So here's the dynamic one. That's the one with the moving circles that eats batteries. And then this is the still one that I showed you that you can select. It's the stars and clouds or whatever. So if you wanted that, you would. That's where you would select it. Now, if you touch on this one, which I'm going to do, these are the ones that are come built into the iPad. Okay, so here's that one of the ocean I had up. Okay. I'll go on down. And then the other thing you can do is, I'll back out now to this area. I just went back out to wallpaper. But you can select from your camera roll or any of your photos that you happen to have loaded onto your device. So if I go into my, I think it's under photo stream. I'll go into photo stream, and I'll go up to here. That's a picture of my thumb. Okay, and I would just select that. And it comes up, and then when it comes up, it says, do you want to set this for the lock screen or the home screen or both? And I wanted it for the home screen, so select home screen. And then I'm going to go back out of here. And I'm actually going to hit the home button right over here, and the round button to bring me out here, and there it is, of course. Now, are there any questions on wallpaper?
No.
Okay. Ma'am, were you able to find it and everything?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Once you get back to.
You hit the home button. The home button is a round button. Let me show.
Yes, got it.
Okay, got it? Sort of skipped over that. Let me go over some of those functions a little bit. Let me see if I can, if I have those here. I don't. I thought I took a picture of those. oh, I know it's on my other iPad. We had to switch iPads here. I'm operating on iPad 3 and not my new one because the connector wouldn't work properly. So I don't have a picture of it, but let me, you know, the round button, it's either over here or over here. That's the home button, in that button. Okay? That always takes you home. Yes?
How did you get all those options on the wallpaper and brightness?
Okay, let me go back to that again. So I'll go back into settings. Okay, and I'm on the wallpaper here. I selected it. Okay, and here are the options. If you know, and so if you hit on the still, if you hit on the photos, you can select your photo that you want. If you hit on the still, then the options that are built in from Apple come up. Does that answer it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was told that for brightness, you should keep it middle or a little low because it uses a lot of power. Is that a fact?
That is a factor. Let me go back out to here, and I'll go over that. Okay, so this is one of the places, and there are more than one place, where you can set up the brightness. Now, the way you're supposed to set up the brightness, if you use this automatic, is go in a dark room at night, go into your bedroom, turn off the lights, turn on your iPad, and turn this off and adjust this bar. It slides back and forth. Okay, it slides back and forth. And when you get it to where you want it, then turn it back on, and that theoretically is supposed to automatically then set this thing up so that it knows how much light you need in a dark room, and then it will adjust that when you're in a lighter room. Now, I will tell you that this thing is, I want to say, has a mind of its own, because it seems like every once in a while I'll turn mine on and I'll be way up here. And I'll happen to go in and I'll say, this looks a little bright, and I'll go in and I'll say, well, wait a minute, this is out of whack. And so I'll have to go in and reset it. So it seems like it doesn't always work the way it's intended. Yes?
Where else can you set brightness?
There's a couple other places, and I'll be going over those. This is the key area you would do it, where the on-off switch is. Okay? So, while we're here in settings, what I want to do is spend some time going over this general area, because there's a lot of key things in that general area. Okay, so everybody see the general? Okay? So we'll go in there, and incidentally, I mentioned a lot of things changed. Most of this stuff is exactly the same as in iOS 6, but they're different colors. They look different. Okay. Okay, so we'll go into general. This is general, and if you ever call Apple or they on the phone for support, one of the first things they'll do is they'll say, well, what's your model number? It's still under warranty. And where you find out about your device, whether it's an iPhone or an iPad, it's right here under About. So I'm going to hit on that. There's About. This is where you name your device. So if I want to change the name of the device, I just hit on that, and I would change it to whatever I want. Okay? I'm going to go back out, always back out right up here. And this shows all the other things. So it says this is an inline device. This happens to be a cellular in addition to Wi-Fi device, so it has different phone with Verizon. It shows it out on this particular device. I have 74 songs, 1 video, 4,200 photos, 247 applications. Has a capacity of 56 gigs, and I've got 2.6 available. it's full. And so when I bought my new device, I got the 128. Because and it gives you your model number right here, serial number, and so on. Now, if you don't remember how to do this, when you get Apple on the phone, the first thing you're going to do is say, we'll go to settings, and go to about, and then read the numbers. So, but that's where all this stuff is. Now I'm going to go right back out to general, right up here. Okay. Any questions on about? Okay, great. Okay, so this is the software update. If you have a software update that you have not done, there is likely to be a number there. How many people have numbers there? All the people that have iOS 6, I know they got numbers there, right? Yeah? Okay, I was just saying number 1. And it's, if they come out with, they're on right now, if I press that, the latest version of iOS is iOS 7.0.3. If they come out with 7.0.4 tomorrow, I'll know about it because I get all kinds of alerts on that stuff. But you might not for a week. And if you haven't updated, all of a sudden you're going to see a number 1 on the settings. And where you'll see it, I'm going to go back out. I'll get to your question in a minute, man. Go back out to the home area. And where you'll see the 1 appear is right here. You'll say, well, wait a minute, what's that about? And so you'll hit on settings, and then you'll see our number 1 right here. Okay? Yes.
I go to, settings and general, I connect it to here, however, when I go to software update, it's saying unable to check for update, checking for a software update field.
She's not on the internet.
You're not on the internet. You need to sign on the internet.
I did that, I thought.
No.
Yeah, you have to be on the internet for it to check.
Can we get on?
You can get on.
What do we-
To get on the internet, you would go to your settings,
Yeah.
and you go to the Wi-Fi. See where it says Collier County Public Library?
Oh, I got it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Why are you losing the connection now?
I don't know why you keep losing the connection. If I lose the connection, I might not be losing the connection because I'm wired in, hardwired in. But you could lose the connection if you're just in a weaker part of the library. If you're losing the connection and you're at home or you're in the Apple store and it's fading in and out on you, you need to go to the Genius Bar and say, hey, what's going on? Okay? Okay, so that's enough on software updates. I will mention this since there are people who have not updated. If you're going to update, it's safe to update. If you have an iPad 2 or above, you can do the update. I've done it on a 3. I've done it on, of course, the new one. On a phone, you can do iPhone 4, 4S, 5, and of course the latest ones. It takes some time, it takes an hour or two, and the procedure you want to follow is this. You want to be in a Wi-Fi area, which is probably going to be in your home, or if you have Wi-Fi at home. And you will want to do a backup to iCloud or to your computer. And I'll go through how to do that, at least on iCloud later today. Do a final backup, and then while it's plugged in and you're on your internet, you would just go into this software area and it'll say, do you want to do the update? You hit a couple buttons and it starts to update and does everything. And it takes a while then to restore all of your icons and everything. I think it actually pops up and says restore from your backup, doesn't it, George? Yes. It'll say, do you want to set this up as a new iPad, or do you want to restore from a backup? And you'll say, I want to restore from a backup, and it'll be the one that you just made, or the one that was made last night, or whatever. If you have difficulty or questions about doing that, and you're afraid to do it, then what I would suggest you do is make an appointment at the Apple Genius Bar and tell them you need some help in doing an update to iOS 7. Yes?
So the update wipes the device clean then?
The update, it basically wipes the device clean, but it's going to restore everything that you had.
What if you have like applications that have like certain levels?
It'll restore everything from where you were, it should, yes. I don't play a lot of those games,
No,
so.
my kids do.
Okay, I think it does. I think it does restore it right to where you were at before. Okay, okay, so,
But I have a question on that page.
yes,
If you scroll down further,
we're gonna get there. I'm gonna go through most of these, so if I miss yours, you let me know, okay? Okay, so the next one's Siri. I don't want to spend much time on Siri other than, that's where you would go if you want to change the voice. If you want to change the country. I have a female, there's now a male. This is also where one of the places where you can set up your information. And the way you set up your information is you set yourself up as a contact in your contacts. And you put your home address there. If you work, and I'm sure most of you don't, you put your work address there. And then you would select yourself. So because if I hit on that, which I just did, it takes me right to my contacts, and it says, select the contact. Then you select yourself. Okay?
I didn't get Siri on
Siri's on there automatically.
Once you update.
What version iPad do you have?
three. What's the newest one?
The newest one's on Air, but 3, this is a 3, and it's on 3s.
Mine isn't on.
You can't find
It's
it.
not on 2.
No.
iPad 2 is not on.
iPad 2, it might not be on. Should be on. It's on.
I think as long as they update, it's on.
Have you updated?
I have iOS 7.
And you're not seeing Siri listed here at all?
No, it's not on two. I'm ready for my husband.
Oh, that's right. You gotta turn it on.
I spotlight.
Yeah,
Well, how do you turn it?
yeah, okay, let me go to that. I missed that. Here's where you turn it on. If I turn it off, right there. Okay, it's this button right up here.
But I don't get Siri at all. If you don't have it, how do you get it? I can
How do you know what number I'm at?
You have to call Apple with your serial number. Or go to the store, because there's nowhere that it really tells. Sometimes it says it on the back of them, but it's not consistent. We just had an issue with that the other day, and the person called Apple and had the serial, Google the serial number on the iPad, and just say what version iPad do I have, and put in your serial number. George, you want to check with some of these people and see whether they're not seeing Siri on the devices? There's a few, okay, so I'm gonna let George do that. Flash your hand up and he'll help you. Okay, so, but you do have to turn this box on to activate it once you do see it. Yes. Yeah, if you have an accent,
Don't know.
it will try to learn your accent.
The answer is I really do not know.
Okay, so is that a question?
Unless it's got something to do with the model.
That's what I was told, that the two doesn't have Siri. Because my husband does that one.
Okay, so the ones that are not seeing Siri, are they a 2?
Yes,
I think I have a 3. I don't have 3.
Then you probably have a 2, even though you think you have a 3.
yes. What I would do is if you're not seeing Siri and you think you should be seeing it, I would go to the Apple store and say, hey, what's going on here?
Because I have a 3 and I have it.
It comes with 3. It does not come with 2.
What is 3 only?
And it came with the meter.
On the accent, this gentleman had a question about, well, Siri doesn't know my accent very well. And unfortunately, if you work with it, it can learn it, but I have not done that. It understands my accent. But one of the things you should do, and this is in general for everybody, this is very important. If you have a question like, how do I get Siri to work with my accent? Google that. Okay? Just Google, how do I get Siri to work with my accent? And it will give you some clues on things you might try. Google, they might spy on you, but trust me, they're your friend. If you have a question and you Google the question, you will get all kinds of answers. Yes, sir.
You're talking about accent. That's as you speak.
Yes.
Okay. Well, on 2, you have no speaking ability.
Right.
So therefore, you don't need Siri. On 2.
It doesn't come with 2.
Right, it doesn't come.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
if
mean,
you,
it's not, you can find it, it doesn't come.
it doesn't come with 2. Exactly. Yes, sir.
Voice feedback from the always always under feedback.
Under feedback.
Voice feedback.
I'm gonna get down to that.
Okay.
I'm gonna get down to it, here it is. Okay, spotlight, I'm gonna skip over that, but that's where you would search, and I'll go over how to search in a few minutes. Text size is something that I will go over right now. So if you touch on text size, there's a couple other areas you can do this. So if you want to see larger text, if you're having trouble reading your iPad, this is where you would do it. And if you slide the bar, you can see that the text gets bigger and bigger. Okay, so that's where you do that. Okay? Okay, now there's another place to do that, and I want to spend a little time in this accessibility area. Now, these are some things that you really want to play around with in this area right here. And this, again, large text on, that's another place you can set up the text. It's the same as the previous one. So it's in there sort of twice. Okay. But this bold text is on. So if you have trouble reading the new thinner text, turn the bold text on and see how you like that for a while. Yes.
Does that take more battery when you do that?
Not the bold one. It doesn't. No. And if you change it, it has to restart your machine. So if I were changing mine, take it off of bold to regular right now, it would have to restart my iPad. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to cancel. But I would definitely try this if you're having trouble with the viewing. The other thing, the increased contrast is another thing that will help with the viewing. The reduced motion. Remember I mentioned that you can select that dynamic wallpaper where the bubbles move underneath? That does eat battery power. And this reduced motion, if that's on, it will help you save batteries too. And the labels on and off is a cosmetic thing. If you can see it here, you notice that when these labels are on, that they've got a bar, it looks like a 1 right there. If I turn that off, that goes away. So it's just cosmetic. That doesn't, and I just have it on. It's easier to see.
What did you say about increased contrast?
Increased contrast will, I would definitely have that on. It does help the readability. Okay, so what I suggest that people do is, in this area, just play with these settings. Turn on the board, use it for a few days. If you don't like it, turn it off. Okay? This is the way mine's set up right now, and I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so the auto text, I don't use that. Is that the question you had about, sir, was the speaking of the text? What was the question you had about speaking text? Was that about speaking text?
Yes.
You know, I don't use that, but if you have that on, it will actually, you can actually highlight an area and it'll read it to you. And you can play with that. Okay? The hearing aid, I don't have a problem hearing except when my wife is talking, so. Let me look. Under hearing,
Under here, mine has hearing aids.
Yes.
do
Mine does too.
you have,
And it says Bluetooth is not on. So click the home button, it's going to bring up hearing aid options. You don't have hearing aids on there.
no. No, I can't tell you, that wasn't even here. Let's talk. Do you know anything about that, George, the hearing aid thing? Now, it could be,
And you click it, and it says, Bluetooth searching devices. Triple click the home button anytime to bring up hearing aid options.
do you have hearing aids? No.
I don't even know that. You might be able to hook some of the hearing aids today have.
Some of the hearing aids have Bluetooth, and so if they have Bluetooth, that's where you would turn it on. I don't know why it's not showing on mine, but it's not. So, the rest of the things on here, I want to skip over. They are very handicap oriented at Apple, and some of these might apply to you. Some of them, a lot of them, other than these, the visual ones, I'm not that familiar with because I don't have a call to use them. And if you do, what I would suggest you do is make an appointment, again, at Apple and have them review those with you because they're really good at that. Okay, so I want to go back out to this general area. And I want to skip down for a minute. I want to get out of here. I'm going to go home. I want to go over some other features that are unique to iOS 7. So I'm back at the home page. And if you have iOS 6, you know, you would hit the home button twice and you'd come up with a search screen. And you do it completely differently on iOS 7. And the way you do it is you put your finger, one finger, you can use two if you want, anywhere in this area and swipe down. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my finger right on this and just swipe down. And here's what happens. The search bar comes up and you start typing. Everybody follow that? Yes. It's to search for anything on device.
In the category.
In any category. So watch, I'll type in my name. Okay, and when I type in my name, it comes up notes. Well, there's notes that have my name in it for Merrill Lynch. I have a domain name with my name in it. Handwriting notes, AT&T voicemail, and it goes on and on. And it'll go through all my emails, wherever my name is mentioned. So it goes through literally everything. If you're looking for an app, and let's say I forgot where I put Dropbox in my apps, because I have a lot of apps. So I would just put in, Dropbox didn't make it one, let's use music. And I say, okay, there's my music app. This is hard to read, but it's in the folder music. Okay? But I can just hit on it and go right to, I can just touch on music and go right to that app, and my music will come up. Okay? Now, if I go back out of here, it said it was in my music folder. Now, the way I have mine organized is I do have a lot of my folders on one page, and I do them alphabetically. So if I go down to music, it should be right in here. And voila, there it is. Okay? So it will search for all kinds of things on your device. Okay? So, again, one of the big changes, you could be anywhere on any screen. All you do is swipe down anywhere in here. I'll put my finger here and swipe down, and then that search bar comes up. Okay? That's a big difference between iOS 6 and iOS 7. Second big difference is how you close apps. It used to be that you would start squiggling things and you would close your active app. You know, they'd come up in the bottom bar down here, and you would close them. Okay, now to do that, what you do is, you hit the home button twice. So hit the home button twice, and whoops, this comes up. And it will show you the apps that you have open, okay? It shows the app on the bottom, okay? So here it's got, I don't want to close that one. Here it's got Craigslist. There's what Craigslist looks like, the icon for it, and there it is. And how do you close it? And the way you close it is I'm going to put my finger right here and you just push it up. Yep, right there. See it going up? See it? Watch. Poof! Gone. Okay? Yeah. Now, you can do more than one. So watch this. 2 fingers. Okay? Here we go. Gone. Okay. So that's how you close the apps. It was good. Here's LinkedIn. You can actually do 3. You can do 3 at one time. You gotta sort of really be talented to do that. I am. Okay. Somebody said, well, what if you want to do 5 at a time? And I said, well, I'm sorry, you can only do 3 at a time. Only 3 fit on the screen. So that's another big difference on how to close out apps. Has everybody got that? And they're closed. I mean, when you open it up, it'll come right back to where it was, but it closes them like you used to close them. Yes, because it's sort of a little trickle thing that some of your apps will update periodically depending on the settings that you have for them. So yeah, I would suggest that you go in every once in a while, close them out, because if you have a lot of apps like I do, after a couple of weeks, if I go in here, I'll have 30 or 40 that are open. And then I'll just start closing it. So, let's take a, and if you want to open one, you just touch on it. So I'm going to touch on this one. Okay, comes up. And this is Safari. And so let me get a couple other things on Safari up here. Okay, I fixed it. Okay, so I've got a lot of pages here open on Safari, and they're right here. And there's even more. It says more over here, so if I go over here and hit on that last one, no, that is the last one. So I have several open. So when I double click on this, and I go over to Safari and close Safari, okay? And I go back in, and now I open up Safari again, it'll open up, and they're all still there, okay? So even though it closes it, it saves, in most instances, it saves exactly where you were, okay? Now, yes? On the front page? What's on the second page? Anything? You only have that? I'd have to look at that. Yes, ma'am.
Where did you see that you had more apps open? Is that plus?
No. I hit the home button twice. This shows the apps that I have open. And they're all, you know, you can see I have several of them open. Okay, again, the way you get rid of them is you just slide it up. I'm touching, I put my finger anywhere on here and slide it up. Oh, on. Yes?
Did you say that when you close Safari, you're keeping windows open or apps open?
It keeps the apps in Safari where they were. So it closes the application, but when it starts it back up, it brings up all the pages as if you never left.
You mean pages, not apps? In Safari.
Pages in Safari. Yes. Okay. So, okay, that's another big change in iOS 7, is that on how to close apps. Now, there's two other big changes. One of them is the control center. I'm going to go over that now. Now, the way you get to the control center in iOS 7 is right at the bottom. Not up here, right at the very bottom, you swipe up. And when you do, you should get this. You have to do it right at the very bottom. Everybody got that? Has to be right at the very bottom. Just swipe up.
Start with your finger on the black.
Start with your finger on the black and swipe up. Just it's a little, it's just like pulling it up. It's not a hard swipe. It's just it's a, you know, lift it up on the black and lift it up. Okay? Are we there? You don't have to do it quick. You do it real easy. It goes up and down. Just grab it. No, it's right at the bottom, in the black. Got it?
Because of my
Good.
Oh, my case is.
Brandon, I'm gonna take you right to.
Yes,
My
okay.
case wasn't no way.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is Control Center. It looks a little different on an iPhone. There's some more items, but I'm going to go over this. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can start, you can start your music right here. I don't have any songs, I don't think, in there right now. Oh, yeah, I do. But I don't think it's going to play because, let me see. Well, it's not gonna,
You gotta push play.
it's not gonna, yeah, I had to play on it.
No?
Oh, here we go. Okay, so that's where you could, one of the places, if you have music going on your machine and you stopped it, you could start it right there. You can change the volume right here. Okay? The other thing you can do is you can turn on airplane mode, which I don't want to do right now because it would take me off the Wi-Fi. This is the internet. This is Bluetooth. This is the notification center, so if I want do not disturb on right now, I just hit that button.
What is that, you know,
I want to say it's more applicable if you have a phone because it's going to stop the phone calls from coming in. But on this device, it would stop the text. It would stop if you have a ding that goes off every time you get email, it would stop the ding. You would still get those things. You would still get on a phone. You still get a call and it goes to voicemail, but you don't hear anything. So it's like I'm going into a room and I don't want to be disturbed. Okay. If you turn on Do Not Disturb, it will stay on for 24 hours unless you turn it off. Some people hit that button and then they forget about it 3 or 4 hours later. They're thinking, well, why isn't this thing beeping anymore? Okay? So, but the way this Apple set it up for Do Not Disturb, and this particular function is after 24 hours, it goes back to on. Now, we had a lady at the club the other week, and she said, she said every day at 3 o'clock, she says, I'm trying to watch this movie, and the sound doesn't come on. And I said, well, you got to go to your Do Not Disturb settings, and you can set up a time of day that sound will not appear or not come on, which I routinely, like on my phone, I have it set up so it's on Do Not Disturb from 11 o'clock at night until 7:30 in the morning. It allows anybody who's in your favorites, it's one of the settings you can have, that if they call, it will ring. So if your children or somebody important, husband, spouse, is one of your favorites in your phone list, if they call, even though you have the Do Not Disturb on from 11 to 7 in the morning, the phone will ring. Also, it's set up that if somebody calls twice in a row within 2 minutes or 3 minutes, it will ring the second time. So there are some safeguards, but I find that real handy because I used to get these text messages at 3 in the morning that drive me crazy. Now, this is not to be confused by the switch on the device that you can, it's the manual very little switch that you can also use to turn on Do Not Disturb. If that switch is on the phone or on this device, that will not reset in 24 hours. It'll stay that way until you redo it. And on this one, it's at the bottom here, so if I hit it, and I actually have mine on rotation lock. You can change it to rotation lock or sound. Mine's on rotation. And I'll get more into Do Not Disturb settings in a little bit. This is the, again, silent rings. This is for the stopwatch. I wish it was for the clock, but if you hit on that, it'll take you to the world clock, or the stopwatch, I'm sorry. Now, you can go to the clock down here. I use this alarm clock a lot. So, for reminders, if you have a reminder, or sometimes I use it, or if I usually don't set it in the morning, I got one of these heads that gets up at a certain time every day. But if I had a plane to catch, I set them on. So if I hit the alarm, or on the world clock, I'm going to go right over here. I want to go over this a second, because this came up the other day. This is what comes up. And these are standard ones that come with the device. You can edit it. If you hit edit, you can take them out and add other ones. But somebody asked, well, how do you get the full clock? So if I touch on New York, that clock comes up. And if I touch on it again, it'll go back to that, or if I go back to the world clock, it'll come here. Okay? And of course, the colors indicate, well, it's nighttime over in these parts, this part of the world right now. The other thing that I'll mention on the clock, and even on the clock icon, if you look at the clock icon on your device, it now, come on, I do lock this thing upside down. There we go. Okay, if you go out and you find this icon somewhere on your device that says clock, you'll notice that the second hand is moving. It used to be static, it does move now. To me, big deal, because it's hard to see anyhow, but it does actually show the time. Okay? Okay, so now, let's go, and the final big change is Notification Center. And the way you get to Notification Center is the opposite of the way you got to the Control Center. You start way up here and slide your finger down. So start in the black area and slide down. And it will tell you a few things about the day. It will tell you the weather. It says that my next appointment is at 4 o'clock, and incidentally, I have to pull it out of here at 4 o'clock to make that appointment. It shows my calendar for the day, and it says tomorrow I have nothing scheduled on my calendar. Yes?
Would you say anything about how to get it?
Sure. Okay, the way you get it, you see this little thing right here? Okay, I'm going to grab onto that and pull it out, and it disappears. If I start right above the time, and bring it down, it comes down. Okay? You don't. Those are things that are in my calendar. It's showing what's in my calendar. Okay? Okay, did you get it back there? Lady with the hat, did you get it?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, yes.
Down below the icon in the center,
Yes. Oh, yes. AirDrop is a function that you can share with other people. And so if you're on the internet and like in your home and you want to AirDrop a file from your computer onto your iPad or photos onto your iPad, you can do it through that AirDrop function. Oh yeah, it stays there, yeah. And if you want to know, I'm not going to go into AirDrop today, but again, Google is your friend. Google how to work AirDrop on an iPad, and you'll get. And also, there are a lot of YouTube videos that'll go right through the screens and everything else on this stuff. Okay. Yes. Oh, the music. You turn. This is just scrolling. That's the song that's there. That's the song that's gonna. That is there. You can't change. That just keeps on going. But this turns it on and off. Okay? And it's off right now in that position. This would be on. I'm sorry, whoops. This would be on. Okay?
Question on that screen.
Yes,
In the center, it says airdrop.
yes.
Your screen doesn't show that.
My screen doesn't show that because this is my old iPad and I don't have everything turned on. My new one does, I assure you. We couldn't get my new one to work with the library equipment. We don't know why. But we're fortunate that I had my old one with me. Yes,
The time on the top of my homepage, it says 12 o'clock, 12:03.
because you don't have the right time zone selected. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay? Yours says 12:06 right up here? 12:04, okay. Well, let's just take a detour and show you how to do that. So we'll go back to the home, and we'll go into settings,
She's in California, probably.
and you'll go down, probably Cupertino, and you'll go down to, in settings, you'll scroll, you'll be in the general area, and you'll go down to time and date. And you'll hit on time and date. Okay, and then you see where mine says automatically set, and then it's for the New York time zone.
Set automatically.
So if you hit set automatically, it's probably going to change to the current time zone.
It's on, it has green on it. so-
Oh, yeah, turn the green on, turn that button on.
It is.
Okay, and what does yours say here?
Doesn't. The little thing around, time zone.
It's going around and around? You probably need to restart your iPad.
Got it on Wi-Fi.
That's,
Got it on Wi-Fi.
I am in one.
yeah, she's on Wi-Fi. But sometimes you have to restart. Now, if you're having, let me just mention this because this is important. If you have trouble with your iPad and something like that won't work, the first thing to do is to power the, I'm not going to do it now because it'll take too much time. You power the iPhone or the iPad down. And the way you power it down is you hold in the home button and the power button at the same time. And you do that, both of them, and the screen will turn black, and then an apple will appear. When the apple appears, you let up on both of them, and that resets a whole bunch of stuff in your device. It doesn't change your apps or anything, but if something's not working, a lot of times that will correct it.
The on-off switch and the home button.
The home simultaneously, and the screen will turn black. You keep holding them down until you see the apple appear. Sometimes it usually takes about 5 or 10 seconds. I've heard some people say it took 30 seconds to appear. Sometimes the apple will appear and it'll start up in 10 or 15 seconds. Sometimes I've had mine sit there for 3 or 4 minutes with the apple because it's straightening out a lot of internal settings. But it's not destroying any of your data, it's not erasing any of your games or any of that stuff.
Is that the same as holding it down and having it, say, power on?
No, it's not. No, it's not the same thing. You have to hold it down, and you have to hold that button down right there too. Yeah, both of them at the same time. No. Yeah. Yes. You do take a pic, that's the way you take a picture of a screen. Okay, if you want to take a picture of a screen, gentleman's right. You hold the home button down and the power button at the same time, but you do just a real quick click and watch the screen flash. Did you hear it? Did you see it? Okay. Now, that's how you take a picture of the screen. So you say, I'm having a problem with something, or I want to show you this screen, and you want to email it to somebody. Take a picture of the screen, and then what you do is go home, you go to your photos, and there's that screen. There's that picture I just took of the screen right there. Okay? Now, you do the same thing to reset the device, but when you hold them down, you keep holding them down. Okay? You keep holding them down until the screen goes black and the apple appears. Okay? Okay. Yes. Okay, so, we have a little under an hour to go. So I'm going to just quickly go over the big changes, because they are big and they can be confusing. The first one is, I want to search. So I'm going to put my finger anywhere in here and just pull down, pull down, and the search thing comes up. So we went over that. If you get out of the search thing, you either hit the home button or you just touch anyone on the screen and it'll take you out. Don't touch on an icon. If you touch on one of the icons, it'll open up that icon, that app. Okay? Then the next thing we talked about was Control Center, which is right down here. And you just pull up, and there are those items. Now on the phone, one of the neat things that comes up is another whole line comes up, and there's a flashlight, there's a calendar, or a calculator, and a couple other things. And somebody said to me at a meeting the other day, why isn't there a flashlight on this? It's because there's no flash on the iPad. And the flashlight works based on the flash on the phone. Okay, so then the third thing is the notification center. Start at the top and pull down, and there. One thing I didn't go over is this is the day. Okay, they have all, and you can either hit on all to move over, or you can just slide it over. Slide your finger over from right to left, and that's all. So it would have that. It would have a whole bunch of things on here that. Oops, come on. It would have a whole bunch of things on here. It has the apps that have been updated lately. It's got all kinds of stuff. Now, if you want to close out some of these, like let's say I want to close out this calendar stuff, I hit this X, and I would just hit clear. I wanted to do that. Okay? And then they've got anything that you've missed, and there's some things that I might have missed. I never go to the missed one. I usually just go to the daily one, or the if I want to see what apps have been updated recently, I'll go to the all. Okay. So those are the big changes, and the last one, the big change was if you hit the home button twice, it shows the apps that are open, and again you swipe up to close them. And you should do that periodically. Yes.
One thing that is also changed is how do you delete an app?
You delete an app the same way you always did, and that is that you would, let me find one that I want to delete, and I'll delete it for you. What I tend to do is the ones that I'm not using, I'll put way in the back here. So let's say I want to delete this one, this cards one. So you just hold your finger down, and you get the old squiggly with the X, and I just hit the X. It says, do you want to delete cards? And I say, yeah, delete it.
You're holding the home button again?
No, you hold the icon
The icon itself.
and the shaking. Now, to get the shaking to stop, you just hit the home button. So again, I'm going to put my finger on 365. Okay? So I put my finger on 365 and hold it down until it starts squiggling. Then I hit an X if I want to delete the app. If you delete the app, it's still up in the App Store. So you can always get it back. If you paid for it, you'll get it back. You go to download it, it's a $20 app, and you had bought it, but you deleted it on here. It'll come up when you download it, it'll say, this is $20, and it'll say, you already purchased this. And it'll download it for free, which is a good thing.
Okay, now if we want to add, we go to the Apple.
Yes.
How do you get rid of it again? It's still where?
It's still in the iTunes store. It's still in Apple, in the cloud, where you've got the app to begin with. Okay? Okay, now, I want to go back into the settings area, and we're going to get to security in a minute. But I want to go to this, we talked about notifications, I'll go down these quickly. This is again, in the general area, or this is in the settings area, and this is the airport mode, another place where you can turn it on. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth on, cellular data, this happens to be a cellular one. Hotspot, which you would only have if you had cellular. VPN, I'm not going to go into. But notification center, control center, and do not disturb, I want to spend a minute on those. So, let's do notification center first. This is notification center. Now, you know, on notification, when I pulled down to the top of the screen, notification center, there it is, okay? This is where you determine what you want to see. So it says, first of all, you want to be able to access it if your screen or your device is locked. And that's a personal security thing. You want to be able to, you know, when my device is locked, I can still pull down and see if I have an appointment and whatever I have on that notification area. But you can right here, you can say, no, I don't want to do that when it's locked. Okay? So I have it that access it when it's on lock screen and access today. Then on the today view, I want a summary, I want the calendar events, I want reminders, and I want tomorrow's summary. If you don't want tomorrow's summary, or you don't want reminders, and you don't want the calendar, you just flip them off here by hitting those switches. Make sense? Okay. Then the sort, this has to do with the stuff we're going to go on down here. You can manually have things sorted or sorted by time in terms of when you get a notification. A time would be, you just got an email, so that'll be at the top of the list. The manual sort, which is what I have on, is that whenever I see things, I see messages first, then I see reminders, then I see emails, and so on. Okay? Now, when you go into these, so I'm going to go into messages. How do you want to see your messages? Well, I want to see a badge that indicates I got a message. A badge is when, you know, you look at messages or mail and it says there's a number 1 there, or 2, or 3. It tells me how many unread messages I have. Okay? So yeah, I want to see that. The sound I want is choo-choo. Then how many do I want to see in the notification center? I want to see them there, and I want to see the last 5. You can change that. I think you can change it to 20. 5 is good enough for me. Okay. I want it to show on my screen. Preview is an interesting one for message. So, particularly on a phone, if you're interested in privacy, in my business I am, because you know I have clients and so on. And when I'm sitting in a client meeting and I have my phone sitting on my desk or my iPad, and a text message comes through, even though I have it on silent, I don't want it to the message, the first 2 lines of the message to appear. It might be something private. You know, my wife says, I just went to the doctor and everything was okay. My client doesn't need to see that. So the way to not show that, it would just say message from Karen, who's my wife, is to turn this switch on. Okay? To turn on the show preview. I have it on right here. It's turned off. Turn it off. Don't show the preview. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you have to go in and you have to look at each one of these and see what it is that you want to see. Like, let me go into one like. Let's go into one like DJ. This is an app that I have. You might not have it. But this is one, I really don't need to see the icons, I don't need to hear a sound, and I don't need alerts, and I don't need it to show on my lock screen. So I can turn all those off, and then I won't be bothered with DJ. And then DJ comes down here in the not included list. Okay? So if you turn them all off, it goes in the not included. If it's not included, and you're not getting an icon, you're not getting an alert, guess what else? You're not using up your battery. So if you really don't need some of this stuff, routinely on my phone, I don't do it so much on my iPad, I go through here and I push a lot of things to do not include, do not include, do not include. I just don't need it until I get there and check it. Okay, it's great. Okay, let's go back out. It's in the notification center, okay? And it's on down. So notification center, and then sort manually, sort by time. Sort manually is what I've got. If I hit, and if I hit edit, let me just do that once. If you just do sort manually, and I hit this edit button right up here, okay? These squiggly things appear. This is a common thing in iOS. And you can move them around. So I can say, oh, I want this one up here. Okay? Oops, knocked me out. Okay. So that's how you would move, hit edit, and then when you're done editing, turn it off. That's how you move it. All right, let me go to Control Center. Very simple. Swipe up from the bottom of the screen to view the Control Center, which we went over. Okay? I want to be able to access the Control Center when my device is locked, and I want to be able to access it when I'm within an app. So if I have open Safari, or if I have open Photos, and all of a sudden I want to get to Control Center, I can do that immediately. Okay? That one's an easy one. Do not disturb. Now this has to do with the timing. Remember I said I have mine scheduled. I don't have manual, I have a schedule. And I have it scheduled that from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I don't want to hear anything coming through on this device. Which on an iPad usually would be an iMessage, or it might be an email if you have those sounds turned on. Or it might be a FaceTime call, alert of a FaceTime call. Again, it's more for stuff that's coming through my iPhone. You can change the time. You just hit on that arrow, and you just go and change whatever time you want. Touch anywhere outside to get out. Now, this is what I was talking about, the exceptions. Okay, allow calls from, I got favorites, but there are other choices. I can allow calls from everyone, from no one, from my list of favorites. I can allow calls from my bike group, my ski group. I have a place in Park City, the people who I have in my phone book that are Park City people, I could check them if I wanted to. You can only check one group. I can allow Merrill Lynch, where I want to hear from people at work in the middle of the night. They don't. Okay, so the big one is favorites. So if you set up your children as favorites, or you set up your spouse as a favorite, or some of my close friends, like George, his call might come, I don't think he would, but if he were really a close friend, I'd have him in my favorites. If he called me at 3 in the morning on my phone, it would ring. So that's how you set that up. Very easy.
How do you delete the groups?
How do you delete the groups? What do you mean delete the groups? The groups are gonna be there. If you haven't checked them, then they won't be an exception. Again, you can only do one. Let me show you that. Let me go back in here. Right here in the favorites. Okay? If all of a sudden I say, well, I've got favorites, I want to change that to, I'm thinking crazy. I want to have people from Merrill Lynch call me. Oh, now, notice Merrill Lynch is checked. Favorites is no longer checked. When I go out of here, it says accept calls from Merrill Lynch anytime. You can only have one. And that's not the one I want, I can tell you. Favorites. Okay. Now, that takes care of these three areas, and I want to skip down to, let's talk about privacy. This gentleman wanted to know about privacy. There's a privacy tab down here that's 4 underneath general, and we'll go there and spend a minute. Okay. If you're real sensitive to privacy issues and you don't want anybody to know anything, you're going to turn off all of these. The problem is if you turn off location services and you go to look at your map, it's not going to know where you're at to even start giving you directions. So there are some reasons why you might want some of these on. Now here's the problem, is that when you download apps, a lot of them will say, when you download them and open them up for the first time, they'll say, Facebook's would like to know your location. Is that okay? Or they'd like to know your contacts. Is that okay? Or it'll say Maps would like to know your location. So a lot of people have a tendency to, yeah, I want to move on, I want to get into this app. And they end up with a bunch of stuff on that they don't realize is on 3 months later. So the way to check that is to go to privacy, go to location, and it's on, and then we'll see what's on. And you'll notice that I've got a lot of these turned off because at one time they were on, but I decided to turn them off. Now, I have an app called the Apple Store, which is a free download, and I have the location on because when I hit that app, I want it to come up with Waterside Shops or Coconut Point. I don't want it to come up and ask me input my zip code and all that stuff. Around me, that makes sense. If I want to use that app that says what's around me, which is stores, gas stations, restaurants, or whatever, I don't use the app that often, but it's going to need to know where I'm at. Camera, if you don't have camera on, then when you take a picture, it's not going to geotag the picture. If I take a picture right now, it'll geotag that picture, that this picture was taken in the Collier County Library. If I have it off, it'll just be a picture. Okay? So there's reasons why some of these are on, some of them aren't. And you can always turn them on. You know what, I'm going to go start looking for a car, and I better turn on Edmunds. So I turn on Edmunds, and I go get into the app and start looking for a car close to here. Again, having these on will consume a little bit of battery life, not a lot. So you see I've got a lot of apps, and here's a couple of arrows. There's arrows at the bottom. This arrow happens to be gray. The second one down. Gray. The location service icon will appear next to an item that has used your location within the last 24 hours. So you can tell which ones are popping up and seeing where you're at. And usually they won't pop up and see where you're at if you're not using the app. Okay? Now, a couple other things that you would really want to have on here. One would be Find My iPad or Find My Phone. If you don't have that turned on and you lose your iPad or iPhone, it doesn't know where it's at. So that's one you want to have definitely on. Now, there's some secret stuff here in this systems services. I want to go into that area real quick. Now, here's where you can turn off location-based ads. So if you have that on, it's not really a bad thing, but if you have that on and you're up near Waterside Shops and you start looking at some apps, it'll start customizing the ads that it shows on the side, like in Yahoo or whatever, to where you're at. And so you might want to have it on. Diagnostics usage, that one you can have off, that sends stuff to Apple. Compass calibration, yeah, that's good to have on. This popular near me, that's an interesting one because that traces where you've gone. And it's more important, I think, on my phone than on my device. But on my phone, if I have that on, it knows that it literally learns in iOS 7 where you're going. So it knows that, well, Mitch gets up and he usually goes to work around 8:30. So if I go to my notification center for the day, this on my phone, go to today, on my phone, it'll say, you're 10 minutes from work. If there's a traffic accident, it might say that you're 30 minutes from work. I don't see a big benefit right now, but I think down the road it could be bigger. Like right now, if I hit it on my phone, it'll probably say, right now, it will take you 15 minutes to drive home. So I was reading an article about it. There was one guy, he said, I stop at Starbucks every morning about 8 o'clock. He says, when I look at my today on my iPhone, it says you're 20 minutes from Starbucks. He says I have breakfast at Perkins every Saturday. And he said, on Saturday morning, I hit that on my iPhone and it says you're 30 minutes from Perkins. Okay.
Big brother.
So that's what that is for, popular around me. If you turn it on, it's going to record where you're going all the time in your phone. It's not going to report it necessarily to Apple or anybody, but it's going to report it to you. Yes?
The little arrow underneath the head of an arrow, you see the side, the round color up on the right? Yeah, those little things, what they do?
Yeah, okay, those little things again are keyed right here. So on this device, yeah, they're right here. They tell when's last, check your location.
What'd you say about diagnostic and usage? You have that off?
You can have that off. That's just, all that's doing is report stuff to Apple on your usage. Diagnostics and usage.
So
Yes.
you're thinking it's not important to have diagnostics sent to Apple?
I've had it on for a long time, and then I turn it off. Sometimes I just get, well, they don't even know. And I don't think it hurts to have it on. I've never heard anybody say, oh my God, you better turn this off because it's a big deal. So if you want it on, I think it's fine.
Okay, I just was.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. There are some apps that can tell you that. Waz is one of them, I think. Doesn't Waz tell you if there's an accident and it's going to take you 2 hours to get to the airport rather than an hour?
Which one?
Waz.
Not sure.
W-A-Z-E. Waz is an app that you can download for free. W-A-Z-E, and it's pretty good. I mean, it does eat batteries, but if you've got it on your phone or on your iPad, it'll tell you if there's a speed trap. It'll tell you if there's an accident. It'll pop up. Yes.
On that other page around the status bar icon, why did you have that on?
Let me go back in there. Oh, status bar icon. it says that it shows the location service icon in the status bar when the service above requests your location. And so,
So should it be on?
it should be on, yeah. When they request your location, you're gonna wanna know. Okay? Now, so that's the privacy area. Let me go back and I did the location. That was the location stuff, which is pretty important. Then contacts. If you look at contacts, I've given these two applications, actually one of them, my one calendar application, permission to view my contacts. And so when I'm typing in somebody's name and they're in my contacts, it automatically fills in the name. You could have others in there that want access, but I don't. Calendar. I have 3 different calendars. So those calendars are all linked together. Reminders. I have nothing tied to my reminders right now. Photos. And what this does is it allows me to send photos from my photo library up to Facebook if I want to do Feedly, which I really never use, but Dropbox I do use. So you would turn things on or off here if you want them to have access to your photos if you have those apps. Now, if you don't have Dropbox, the Dropbox app or Facebook app on your device, it's not going to show at all. Dropbox is I'll give you a short explanation. It's a free application that you can get. They'll give you, I think, 2 gigabytes of free storage. And if you have an iPad and like an iPhone, and you have Dropbox, you can put a file of photos or whatever in Dropbox from your iPad or a document, and it'll show on your phone in the Dropbox folder.
Will it go from PC to that too?
PC, yes. PCs have Dropbox now, don't they?
Yes.
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 The iMac?
Yeah.
Yes. So on my I have a couple Apple computers, a couple too many actually. We have a couple iPads in the house, we have a couple of iPhones. And so if I'm doing a presentation, for example, of a bunch of slides on my big computer, and I want to share that and pull it up on my device here, I could just put the file in Dropbox on my computer, and it would show in Dropbox here. Dropbox is really good. Google it. It's a very popular thing to have. How many people in here use Dropbox? Just a few. Surprise.
What about advertising on the bottom of the
Advertising you can turn off. Let me get back to privacy. Didn't have any. Okay, wait a minute. Bluetooth sharing. I don't have any Bluetooth sharing going on right now. Microphones, I don't have any of that. Oh, I have the Google search. I have on. I do have that on so that I can use the microphone to do verbal searches. The advertising I have turned. It's off.
You're on Google, you said, search, but they don't have privacy, but there is some Google is hosting.
Yes, Google is open, and you know, I still use it for search. I still use the Google Mail, so they know a lot about me, I guess. But I don't have anything to hide. If I did, I wouldn't be doing it on there. But the Google search that this refers to with the microphone is this particular app right here, which you can download. It's just called Google. When I push on that, this will come up, and you see the microphone in the middle?
Yeah.
When I hit that, you go,
It's better than Siri.
oh, it's Naples, Florida.
According to Wikipedia, Naples is a city in Collier County, Florida, United States.
Okay?
How do you turn that on?
you have to download that app. It's not a regular, it is a downloaded app. It looks like this, right here. I use it all the time. Okay? And I'll tell you what I use it for, quite a bit, is this. Mississippi. Oh yeah, that's how I spell Mississippi. I'm gonna tell you, spelling wasn't my favorite subject. I was a whiz in math, but spelling was a chore. Okay. But, for example, I was telling you about that series in that Macworld had on in the first slide. What did I tell everybody to write down? What was it? Something about the iPad on Macworld. What did I say? How to get to know iOS?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Okay, so if I go here, Macworld, how to get to know iOS 7. Okay? There you go. Now, to me, that's a lot easier than typing in all that stuff. It's not perfect. Sometimes it makes a mistake, but pretty good.
How do you get that icon?
That, you have to download that. Go to the App Store. Let's go to the App Store right now. Wait a minute there. There's the App Store. So if you go to the App Store, okay, and you go to up in this corner, right up here, okay, and type in Google. And go right there, Google, and it'll be the first one that comes up, and it's great.
And it automatically goes on the,
No, it doesn't automatically go there. It'll automatically download your device somewhere, and you can put it there if you want to. I'll show you that. Okay, so that's the, okay, the lady was asking, well, how do I get the thing here? And so we'll spend a few minutes going over apps. Where am I on time? Yeah, I'll get a few minutes. So I'm going to hold my finger down to get them to shake. So anyone, and get them to start shaking. Okay. Now once they're shaking, you can move them around. So I can move this around. Okay? See it? Okay. I can move this up here. Okay? And I can move this one down here if I want. Okay, you see that? Okay, so I don't want that down there, so I'm gonna move it back up here. If I can. I don't want to come up there. See what you made me mess up my machine. Doesn't want to go up there. There we go. Okay, so then I'm gonna move this one down here again. Now, while we're on there, a lot of people have questions about how do you do folders. And the way you do these folders, here's a folder. I'm going to show you what a folder looks like. Folders have changed a little bit. Here's a folder, and I happen to have all of the new keynotes and numbers and pages in there. Okay? So if you want to create a folder, first of all, while this folder is open, I'm going to show you how to change the name of the folder. You cannot change these names, the names of the apps, but you can change the name of the folder. And the way you do that is you touch up there, and the keyboard comes up. The cursor is right here towards the C. I can hit the X to eliminate, just type what I want, or I can just backspace. See that? Okay? And then when I'm done, I hit done right here. And I want it to stop shaking, I hit the home button over here. And we're done. Yes?
How do you take one app from one page to the next page?
I'll show you that too. So,
Did you show them how to make a folder?
I'm going to show you how to make a folder too. So, first of all, let's let's do what you wanted to do. So I'm gonna take this app, Game Center. So I'm gonna hold down on any app until I get it to shake. Okay. Now I'm gonna take the Game Center, and I just take it and I drag it over until it goes to the next page.
How come I didn't have a little Lex on?
Huh?
Why didn't I have a little Lex on it like the first one?
Game Center is a native app that comes with the device, and you can't delete it. Okay? So, now, the next thing is, how do you make a folder? And the way you make a folder is, let's say I wanted to take these two and put these two right here and put them together for some reason. So I just take one and put it on top of the other. And now there's a folder. It says travel, and I don't like the name travel, so I'm just gonna put other. Okay? And then I'm done. And I'm done with that, and now there's the folder right there. Okay?
And they can put as many apps in a folder.
The thing that's changed is you can do as many apps as you want, only 9 appear on one page. So you can have folders within folders too. So that has changed a little bit with iOS 7 as well. So I'm going to show you that. I'll get to your question in just a second. I want to get back in here real quick, and I'll show you how to do this. I don't want this so that you can't collapse them easily, but I can just take and drag that out, and then take this again, open this up, and drag this one out, and it will disappear. Okay? Now, there's another neat way to do folders that I'll show you. What was your question, George?
I forgot it.
Okay. I thought that might happen. Okay. The other thing I wanted to show you was a lot of times if you get a lot of apps and you're sitting there and you're saying, well, I want to organize this, and on the first page I got a travel app, and on the 5th page I got a travel app, and you're going back and forth driving yourself crazy. Well, the thing to do is to go and move some of these out of down here temporarily. So I'll move those two out, and then I'll go over here and I'll put this folder which I've created, and I'll put it down here. Okay? Now I'll go back up here and I'll say, oh, I want this to go in here. Okay? Let's see what else I want to go in there. Well, that's it for right now. But if I had 4 or 5, I could just keep putting them in there. Now notice when I bring this up, there's 2 dots here, because 9 will appear on the first page, and the second page is right there. And you say, well, how do you get something to the second page? Well, if you really want it to the second page, you just put it on the second page like you would moving it from one page of the book to the other. Okay, so if I don't want it there, I go here and it goes back. You get that?
You got 3 dots.
Well, you might have 3 dots because you've got, well, hold on a minute. Yeah, I've got 3 dots because I've already opened that other page. Now, it might be that when I close it, it'll go back. So if I go back here, now I'll pull it up again, and I'll hit, and get it to, see it's back to 2. Because it does a check and it says, hey, you don't need 3. But as soon as I make a second page, whoops, I got it out of there. As soon as, let's put it back in. Let's go back up here. As soon as I make a second page, put it in there, now when I go back, go here, it's not showing 3 dots, I don't know why. I guess it was a bonus temporarily.
So before you put
Okay, so, yeah, okay, as soon as I grab this move it, there's 3. So, that's one way you can do it. Now, one of the things that you can't do is you can't create a folder in the menu bar. So, in other words, if you're here and you say, well, I want this to go on here, it won't let you do that in the menu bar. It will let me put it in here, but it won't let me create a new folder. You have to create the folder outside of the menu bar. Once it's created, you can put it in here. So, let me get back to where I was. So I'm gonna put this back up here. Find my other couple.
Google there.
There's my Google. Oh, it doesn't want it. Google. Okay, there's my photos. Now, once they're in there, I'd say, I want my photos over here, I can move it over there. Okay? Then you can play with that.
How many can you put on the bottom bar?
6.
Now, when you first started up there, I noticed you had things going this way with his rolling. How do we have that rolling out of your different apps?
Rolling.
Like a wheel. Like a wheel. Ask George, and George put it on his machine.
The wheel?
Yeah.
What wheel were you doing?
Is it an application trying to open, is that what that is?
I'm not sure what he's referring to.
It seems like there was a 50 of them down below, and he would bring them up, and it would show the big one, and moved on to a smaller one, and another one come up with
Oh, that's when you're closing them, that's this. You mean that? No? Oh, you mean the App Store?
No. We'll do it down at the club, I'll show you.
Okay, good.
Once you move an app down,
Yes.
how do you stop the shaking?
Oh, just hit the home button. Okay? Yes.
Anything you do on the iPad, will that translate through the cloud to both of our other phones exactly the same way as you do it on the iPad?
It depends. If you, okay, I'm gonna go into that real quickly. So let's go into the settings. And let's go to the iCloud, because that's important. And when you go into the iCloud, you want to make sure that your Find My iCloud is on. You want to make sure that you have an iCloud account. Now, this gets confusing. My wife has an iCloud account. I have a separate iCloud account, which is by design. And we have one Apple account that we use to purchase our apps. So if I buy an app, she automatically gets it. If I buy a song, she automatically gets it. If I go into my calendar, she does not see it because my calendar is controlled by the iCloud. So we each have our own separate iCloud. We don't want to see each other's calendars. We don't want to see each other's messages. We don't want to see each other's favorites and phone contacts. We don't want to share that information. We're going to keep that separately. But we do want to be able to, when we purchase something, we only want to purchase it one time for the family. Okay? So if I go, I want you to see this. If I go down to iTunes Store, notice this is Mitch at Mac.com. If I go to the iTunes Store, my iTunes account is Mitch Bryars at Yahoo. And so is hers. Now, your family might be, I've got a guy who lives in my neighborhood, and they're all concerned about having the same calendar. He says, my wife's calendar is in pink and mine's in blue, and then when we have joint things, it's in green, and we can all see, schedule everything, and know what everybody's doing at one time, and we don't want to do that. Now, they do. The only way to do that is to have the same Apple ID in the cloud for both of them.
Well, part of my question was, will the screen of the iPad translate to the screen of the phone exactly the way you configure it here?
No.
So you'd have to redo the folders and the positioning of the icons yourself on the phone. Could be different than what they are on the iPad.
They can be different.
Some apps are iPad only, and some apps are iPhone, and some
Yes,
apps are...
exactly.
But that's a good question.
That is a good
Well,
question.
I'm thinking, if I go through moving all these icons around,
Yes.
in the position I want.
Then what you want to do, no, you have to go and open up your other device and move around. Now, like on my phone, I'm looking at my phone right now, and I've got iMessage here, and then next to it I have this one, and I have the notes down here. I have a calendar app. This calendar app is up here next to this one. This calendar app's on a different page, so they are different. Okay?
You can't do that.
Now, I can sit here and make them the same, but one of the problems that you're going to have is that on the iPhone, you get 4 crossed. You know, on this, you get 6. So, 5, I'm sorry, 5. Yes. Now, there is one more thing that I want to go over. I know we didn't do everything, but this is important. Okay, I want to get back to this iCloud business. So I got this iCloud, look at iCloud. So it's important to have this on, it's important to have Find My iPhone on. If you want your contacts to sync between your devices, then if you have an iPhone and you have an iPad and you have a Mac, and they all have the same iCloud account, and you have this checked on all of them, then when I change your contact on my iPhone, it's going to change it on all my other devices. Now, sometimes what people do is they make the mistake is that they either don't have this turned on the other device, or they don't, or they're using something different than the iCloud on the other device. Okay?
Is the keychain the same as on this as it is on the Mac?
And it is if you're using the same
Same setting?
setting up there. Okay? Now, a couple things I point out: documents. Syncing of documents, they only sync their own documents. They don't sync Word documents. They don't sync PDFs and a lot of other things. The syncing of documents means pages and numbers and keynotes. If you're having, here, I want to talk about storage and backup. I mentioned this is important to do if you're going to update to iOS 7, is backup. So you can back up. I have this turned off right now because again, I updated to the new iPad, and this one's about ready to be moving on. And I just happen to have it with me today. Normally, I would have this on, and it would, and when it's on, it will automatically back up my camera roll, my accounts, my documents, and my settings when the iPad is plugged in, locked, and connected to Wi-Fi. So normally at night, on my iPad Air that I just bought, I plug that in and charge it at night. And in the morning when I get up, if I go in here, it'll say last backed up at 11:30 at night. And it does it every night. Now you can also wire it, hardwire it into iTunes, and go in and manually back it up to your computer. You can still do that if you want to. But it's important to do a backup either on your computer or in the cloud before you do your update to iOS 7.
You don't have to be, you have it plugged in to back up.
You do. You have to have it plugged into Wi-Fi. You don't have to have it, you can back it up right now as long as you have over 50% battery and you're in Wi-Fi right here. It might take a little bit. I don't have it on because, again, I'm getting ready to turn this one off. Yeah, okay. Now, storage. I don't have anything on this device. I've already wiped out the storage, but usually you'll have storage, and they give you 5 gigabytes of storage. If all of a sudden you find out you're running out of storage, there's a good chance that you have movies on, usually on your iPhone, that you have not transferred to your computer or you have not deleted. And they take up a lot of space. And the other thing is that if you're going from one device to the other, like when I went to the iPad Air, and I've got this iPad 3, and I've got an iPhone, all of a sudden my storage was getting really full because I hadn't deleted the 3 yet. Well, I've deleted it, and that's why nothing's showing here. It's probably showing something on yours. Okay? Okay, 3 minutes left, and I want to do one more thing. So I want to go back to this general area, and this is sort of important, and it's this area on security. Auto lock, passcode lock, restrictions, I don't want to go over that right now, but, lock, unlock, automatically lock and unlock your iPad when you close it, that's the cover lock. You know, when you close it, it'll automatically, okay. But, this auto lock, that means that if I don't touch this thing for 15 minutes, it'll lock. And you can set it. There's some times you can use, okay? The advantage of that is it just saves your battery. So you're sitting there working on your iPad, all of a sudden, oh, I hear something in the kitchen, I better go check on my hot water. And you go out there, you get distracted, you come back, and you got this thing on never, and you're wondering, well, why did my battery go down? It's because the screen didn't turn off. I got mine on 15 minutes, and I usually just close the cover when I'm not using it, which also turns it off. The cover one is this one right here. Okay?
I don't have that lock unlocked.
That's probably because you do not have the right version of what do you have, a 3 or 2?
3.
A 3?
Yeah, this is.
And you have the lock unlocked, right? Yeah. She probably does it because either she hadn't done a software update or you have an older iPad that's not available.
It's iOS 7, it's,
And it's a 4 or a 3? It's a 4? That should be on there. It might be because you don't have a lock unlock cover on there. You got a different kind of case. Not sure, you might want to check it out on that.
I think she has to have the cover.
You have to have the cover.
What's VPN?
Virtual private network, and I don't want to go into that, but it's a security way to browse the internet. It's a different subject. Okay, but I want to go into the passcode lock. Passcode lock. Now, to get into here, you have to put a passcode in. So I'll put one of mine in real quick so I can get in here. And here's what it has. So passcode off. If I want to turn it off, it'll want my passcode. Change the passcode. It'll want me to enter my old one plus a new one. Require passcode. I've got it after 15 minutes. Now, a lot of people don't want to have a passcode. I'm telling you, it's important to have a passcode. Because you've got data on here that if you were out in the library and you forget your iPad and somebody picks it up, they can get into your data if it's not locked screen. Now, with iOS 7, they can't go get it restarted and steal it like they used to be able to. They can still steal it, but it's of little value because they can't go and restart it as a new iPad anymore. But they can certainly get at your data. So if you don't like punching in a simple 4-digit password every time, the thing to do is adjust this time right here. And you can have it locked. I got mine at 15 minutes when I'm traveling. I usually set it down to 5. But you can have it as much as 4 hours. Okay? But I'm telling you, it's important to have a passcode. This is also important. And the default is on. You want to turn that off. And that means when your device is locked, if that's on, you can push the button and say, Siri, take me home, and it'll give a map or it'll give information about where you live. And I don't think you want a stranger to pick up your phone and be able to get into Siri and start asking questions. So you turn that off. And what that means is Siri's not going to work when your phone or your device is locked. Yes. Siri. Okay? Erase all data. Now that's sort of a scary one, but you got to remember if your device is backing up every night, it's not going to matter. And what that says is that if you have that on, it will erase all your data if you fail to enter the correct password 10 times in a row. So somebody picks up your device, they start entering your password, they enter it over 10 times, it erases all your data. Then you find your iPad or it's returned to you, or you buy a new one, you go and you set it up and restore it from the backup that it was made last night in the sky, and you got everything back. Okay? And that's all I have time for today. I can't stay because I got to get to that other appointment. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.